fit and become like them.
Wow.
And the essence, no kwogera olulimi, manya engero z'Abaganda, no kweyisangako. You know, so that's the reason why I am what I am today.
Yeah.
Bishop, how long have you been married?
I can tell 23 years old.
Oh. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's someone is
That's someone's age.
Someone, yeah.
Thank you.
And you are the president of COPS. How has it been like being the president?
Now, I began church leadership some almost 20 years ago. And coming building from twatandikire ku byalo byaffe tuli mu basumba fraternities ku kyalo ne kakati nze chairperson wa basumba be Katabi waffe Entebbe ate nze vice chairperson wa Entebbe City Pastors Fellowship katujja tuzimba twesanga tuyingire mu bukulembeze bwa national ndi mu National Fellowship of Born Again Pentecostal Churches nitujjanga tukulembera okutuuka myaka ng'ebiri emabega bwe twagamba nti katuteekewo ekibiina ekirala Confederation of Pentecostal and Evangelical Ministries as an umbrella brings together the Pentecostals and Evangelicals. And along with that, I think there is a transition in generational leadership.
Sure, yes.
So when we look at Dawn and Local Mark, and I say transition. So we said, I think to pick up the frequency, there is a need to have an alternative platform that will give the younger generation the capacity to interact with the current information. And then from there we came up with that organization as an umbrella. It has been in existence. Now we are going into our second year. And we are doing well. Mulimo mulungi. Tetwayagala kwingira mu byabufuzi bya church politics sagala mugiyingiremu kubanga church politics oluusi ffe kanisa tetumanye byabufuzi. So it is important to lead from a forefront where people see what you are doing. And so it's from there that we are doing our niche. We cut our niche along those lines, and the Lord has been good to us.
And you know, we needed this because as an umbrella, I mean, all Pentecostal Bible tumanyi kubanga abalokola everywhere. But now, you know, you mentioned something like generations and just change. It's evolving over the years. You know, but well, last week there was something that sparked attention across the media space, across political arenas, religious leaders coming out and mentioning this and that. And you know, this is in regards to cohabiting couples declaring as they are married.
Yes.
And I would like to hear your view and take on that.
Well, it is interesting that we are still struggling to pick up a common voice as a church, the Pentecostal and Evangelical. We need to come to a place where we pick up a common voice to air out issues that affect us. When you look at the marriage bill, there are a lot of things that have been listed in the marriage bill. And in that perspective, otunuulira ensonga ya cohabiting onokimanya nti the framers of the law, the bill, are coming from a certain background where they're seeing something missing out. Yes, that they will want to bring it on board as legalizing it. But when you go back into our life, you know, even the Bible comes from a cultural background, a traditional background. Who are we from where we are coming from? And when you look at who are we from where we are coming from, if we are having a law that is a compound called the marriage bill, what will disturb is that we're already using the word marriage. But had you had another word, then the context would be so different from that perspective. So the framers of the bill needed to find a better name than using it as marriage. Because the context of marriage is for us to understand these are two people who have been illegally framed to be together. So how do you call people who are just living together in their own casual world to become legally married? So I think we have a problem where we need to look at the context of the word marriage. And so this bill needs to redefine what marriage is before it can fix that section of it.
True.
Yeah, the bill needs to redefine. So I want to believe that Honorable Sarah Opendi as the propose and the move of this bill, even before the legal and parliamentary affairs committee, need to help us redefine legally what is marriage.
You know, she has always come out to echo strongly about marriage, women, and you know, and now she fronted something really very fundamental.
Yeah, but you know, the issue would be pushing a feminine kind of style without context, looking at the context of the framework where you're heading to. Because I think sometimes what disturbs us is forgetting the fact that we are African.
Yes, all right.
Forgetting the fact that we are coming from a certain cultural background.
True.
Forgetting the fact that even the law needs to address the needs in the community. So if we go back there, then we need to come up with a system than just saying marriage bill, and in the marriage bill we are saying it's illegal to cohabit. No, the whole issue will miss meaning.
Absolutely.
Because,
form of confusion.
Yes.
When you look at pastors from a pastoral umbrella, which is the National Pastors Platform, NPP, led by Bishop David Chiganda. When he was supporting this, he said the move will prevent a tendency of young men who take long to commit to legal marriage.
Are we promoting people to take a tendency to live longer with others without...
I love how you
And now the argument, okay, the literal understanding would be, if these people, they've been staying together for 5 years, what is hindering them to commit to legal marriage?
No, I think we would have removed the obstacles to their legal marriage than giving them a privilege to live. Because we should ask ourselves, what is the reason why AB is not going into that marriage? And what are those hindrances that the church can deal with or the government can deal with? Can we remove the church fee? Or can we remove the government returns for your marriage?
But now, Bishop,
yes.
You are giving us a very good and serious, focus. And look, you have talked about our culture as Ugandans, the way things are done.
Yes.
And looking at, first of all, the demographics, it is saying by Uganda Demographic Health Survey of 2016, it says 27% of women and 15% of men between 15 and 49 are the ones cohabiting. But these are the active people in church.
Yes.
The youth.
Yes.
So now as church, how is church going to handle that kind of thing? Because this is a big statistic.
Yeah, it's a big statistics. But we shouldn't forget that these people get into church when they began their life. Yes. So some of us were receivers or people who began their life somewhere. Yes. And so we come in to offer them a transition and support to sanctify their marriage. The church should be a place of welcoming them, transition with them to a place of sanctity. Because if we do not do that and we promote that they can rightly continue to live like that, then they would see no reason why they should commit their resources to live together. But the church should work in helping these people transition. And to me, if that's the percentage we have from 14 to 49, that's a big population. Now, if we leave it, we give cohabiting a legal right in the framework of this law, we are committing suicide.
And weakening that.
Yes, we are weakening the framework of this marriage. So we should be able to look at the bottlenecks. What is wrong somewhere? And if we find what is wrong, let's work on that in terms of this law. I had the argument Bishop Dr. Livingston Chiganda brought, saying, why should the mosques be allowed to wed anywhere? And why should the church worship places be gazetted by government? That makes it hard to us. I think our argument as a church should be, give us the same privilege.
Yes.
We can wed you from your tent as you finish up your introduction. We wed you and you walk out of that place when you're already wedded. We shouldn't have to say, finish the introduction, go to a gazetted place, have a gazetted register to wed you, and then that's when you are recognized. Who is gazetting the imams who are wedding, who are doing it in Islam?
Very good.
That's the argument. Yes. I think we need to come to a sense. The law should treat us as equals. The privileges Muslims are having should be the same privileges the Christians are having. Yes. But the bottlenecks are there. Gazetting the place. You go to gazette a place and the church comes and says, give us church fee. 500,000 to wed you.
Almost actually half a million.
Half a million?
Now, Bishop, because now that is very serious, by the way, because even before these marriages are, there is a registration that is taking place with the URSB, and all these things are mandatory. How is church going to work hand in hand with a lawmaker to make sure that this is fair?
No, that's the reason. That's why I began by saying that our evangelical Pentecostal church need to have a place of synergizing, where we come on the same platform and discuss things and present a uniform standard. Because we are talking about this, but the Muslims are pushing something totally different. And the law is going to treat us as equal Ugandans. Before the law, all of us are equal. Now Muslims are having their take. With them, they have said we can even wed you on Zoom. Wow. That the Quran allows, as long as so and so in Uganda consents with the so and so in Dubai, that marriage is legal, and are pushing for it. And there is no as a gazetted place on Zoom. Now with us, the law is saying the registrar, now that we are nearer, the red mirror has to come and inspect the place, gazette even the register of the marriages, so that you wed, and then thereafter file the returns of that marriage. Now the implication will obviously be a hindrance to somebody who loves Agnes and wants to go on into that marriage, and then from there is looking at implication of the finances. We can live together for a while as we look for this. I think to me we remove the bottlenecks.
Bishop Ivan, I love the insights you're really sharing. Ate njagala tu soke to exploring ko ebintu ebiremesa abantu okuyingira obufumo obutukuvu.
Yes.
Because URSB has it that the cohabiting couples are actually more than those that are legally married. And I would want you to really dive deeper into many of those things that are hindering.
Yeah, because one of the reasons I remember the Mufumi NGO in Tororo began an advocacy of removing the bride price, the dowry part of it. They pushed that thing so far that they needed to liberalize the traditional world, where the bride price had also become a very serious problem to people intending to marry. That's one of the challenges we have. So before somebody will think about marrying, is being told, you need to go home, I introduce you home, pay the dowry, and then these guys are beginning life.
And at some point the family members may also reject that.
Yes. So we're beginning life. We've just come out of university. I have seen Agnes, I've seen Anne, I'm saying Anne, we need to move this journey. And Anne is insisting that we need to go to her parents and then meet with them. And when you arrive there, they say, our daughter, we have invested in you so much. Ate naddala yasoma taata sente zonna ze yasomesa yegaira bikiriza kale omwana mulenzi agenda okwetunula ne baagalanye agenda kulaba nga ebyesente bikabuba nze katuddeyo tukole kano okudda kuno nga olugendo balutandika kati batandise n'ekiki ekyaleeta ekyo sente ze baasaba. Ekyokubiri ekilemesa obufumbo nebwesanga abantu ababiri beeyongedde okubeera awamu ng'eteeka mu myaka nga 10. Ekyokubiri ogenda okulaba abantu abatandika butandisa obulamu bakamaliriza kusoma bakyanoonya emirimu kakati nze bye batandika eno ebintu bye tubanja ebyesente biyitirivu mu kyaki simanyi bwe kiri mu Christ Heart naye ennaku ezo natumya omwana bagende bamugatte ekomyewo n'aŋŋamba muzeeyi eri bansabye enkaaga enkaaga lye basabye nenkubayo kusimira omwana mumugendeza ku sente kubanga mu URS bimanyi sente ezigendayo
anyways enkaaga ze kyemmanyi baziteekako nga fine nti oba otuuseeko leeti basobola okuba nga
bazikuddizaako
kumi gyokka kumi gyotuuka mu budde abalabika abiri ana bagatutte naye lwaki naye ate ne gavumenti etwalayo teziwera tegiwera kumi kakati tuwanguyize bano abaana ebintu byesente bibatawaanya ensonga eyokusatu gye ndowooza naye ereetera abaana bano okweyongera okubeera awamu nga tebatambudde lugendo lwa bufumbo butukuvu be bantu ababaliraanye baani aboogera mu bulamu bwabwe eb'endowooza enkya bagenda ne baboonoona mwana wange towasanga oyo mwana muwala tonabamukebera bulungi oyinza okwekomitinga n'osanga obuzibu mu mwana muwala oyo oba mwana mulenzi genda mpola kesooka okebera ebintu manaye waliyo traditional world eno emabega ka traditional world eyo ereetera omwana okutandika okuwulira amaloboozi gali munnange bw'otazaala ate ng'amaze okuyingira mu ndagaano eno kinabeera kitera sooka ozaale tulabe mwana wange sooka olinde doni lindo tulabe ekibala yatandise okulya ku miyembe tulyoke tutambule olw'olugendo abonoonya abaana
ye abaana
bafaanana batya
ayinza otuzaalira abaana
kakati ogenda okuneekerizanga mwana nga maama yayogera jjajja yaŋŋamba nze bino newangubadde tubitandiise nze nja kumiikiriza sooka endabe ku kinaabeerawo so ebyo ne bitusibye kati ekirala ekyeyongedde otutawaanya ennyo abaana bayingira obufumbo nga information tebagirina abaana tebamanyini ne ku URSB awo bagattirawo abagole tebakimanyi nga tebamanyi nsobola kukwata ana wange ne bestman ne metron n'abantu abalala babiri nenyingira mu URSB nensasula sente zange ne bangazeetinga rejeswa nangattira wali nenfuluma nentambula nengenda kadaali okambadde osiramu okambula n'oyingira wali
nze manyi oluusi naddala nnyo abawala bayinza okulowooza nti no kati bannaabwe bajja babuuza naye oba obufumbo obutukuvu kubanga jjukira tebayise mu kanisa kuba oyogedde ku kintu kya tradition there is a tradition that is in Uganda here culture ng'oli bw'aba talinyeeko atayambadde kadaali ate tagenze mu kanisa obufumbo obwo oyo omwana omugamba ki
abatandika obufumbo ate bwe babwonoona bino ebyakadaali bwe betulaba eno ate neewaabwe babikola bulala babikola ne bagenda ku kyaki ne bavayo ne bagenda ku lanki ne bigwa kati ate ffe eno twabiyingizaamu eŋŋanda bwaba tebalidde ku tooke banange bwe bakyajja tazze tejja kubeera mbaga kati ebyonoonya omwana n'agenda ku mbaga nabadde n'abakola recently waffe wali omuvubuka yagattiddwa n'omuwala bakoze embaga ya reception bantu 100 naye ate bwe bajjajja nembagamba ne100 bangi mwandikozeeyo abantu 2 batutwala wali mu hoteeri ne tutuula ne tulya emmere n'okuba ebifaananyi byammwe ffe nebagamba n'okubagamba sikyayagala mmere yambaga nze bwe nzija ku mbagayo zikulaba ggwe because literally what have I not eaten byonna mbiridde naye n'osanga embaga nga yakukuŋŋaanya kyalo kyonna miliyoni 10 wazikola ddi ezo zirekera abasajja b'ekibuga awo nalaba enaku ezo oba yali ani yagikola eyo emunyonyo omusajja hamu yayimirira bwati n'abagamba muzeeyi nze obadde mukwano gwange ebbanga gwanvu nkuwadde obukadde 10 obukadde 10 hamu ng'omuntu n'abuteeka ku ki ku mbaga ngenda okulaba nga kirumira naye ayimirira ngagamba hamu tusoose nina naffe twakanga okwagalana naffe tuleese 10 kakati embaga yakweraga embaga tebagikola kweraga abaana abatandika olugendo lw'obufumbo bagende bwebanga kyaki teriyo bagende muneranire bagatte nze waliwo binatwala nimbagattira awo bagatta nembasabira n'omukisa bantwalanga bishop olina amala ogatta bafukamira nembawa omukisa gw'ekkanisa nembaga nebugwa.
On that particular matter nsaba kubuuza ekibuuzo kino ku lw'omulabi omwatulaba kiki ekikwalifayinga obufumbo okuba obutukuvu ki ekitukuza obufumbo
kakati mbona obuziza ekibuuzo kirungi ekyo nakyo kiri tradition
ki ekitukuza obufumbo
abantu balowooza ndi bwengenda ku olutaali eno nenfukamira wali obufumbo butukuvu nendowooza yaffe ninfukamidde kukatuute wali kati obufumbo butukuze bufuze butukuvu edda si kyekyo. Generally speaking, from a theological background, marriage as a scared covenant relationship, what makes it holy is God in it. Katonda mucho. It's not about the prayers they prayed for you.
Kati waliwo alowooza nti olw'okuba tagenze mu kkanisa wali Katonda takiyingiddemu takyendoosinze
kakaba olaba eyo naye ndo
kikwalifayinga Katonda
okuyingira mu bufumbo kati mwe ababiri abatandise mwatandikira ku ki mwe ababiri mwatandikira ku ki kati ogwo omukwano gwe njagala tunoonye obulungi gwali mu Katonda
Katonda ati kwagala
nobeerawo Katonda kati mwe ababiri abatandika omulimu gwaffe ng'ekkanisa kugamba baana abagenda mu nkolagano eyo okusooka okusaba banoonye okwagala kwa Katonda mu bufumbo bwe bakola ki olinda okumuwulira nga gamuzeeyi nasabye nze nabuwuliddemu Katonda ngendo buze muwala nga agamba nange nasabye nabuwuliddemu ani Katonda abamu ne bagula muzeeyi naffe tusabireko tukakase tukwesiga Katonda waayogera naawe n'osaba n'owulira nga Katonda abulimu kati process yonna Katonda yatandika dda gyali mu bintu.
Kati on that particular matter now, is there any instance woyinza okusaba n'owulira nga Katonda takirimu?
Bingi incidences nyingi by the way kubanga institution ya marriage Katonda yagitandika yagamba Adamu nti eyo yensobi esooka Katonda ojenenya Katonda teyenenya nsobi naye ensobi esooka etandikira ku Adamu Bayibuli egamba n'atunula Adamu bw'atanga si kirungi musajja ono okubeera yekka jjukira luli yali atonda bwe yatonda Adamu yagamba wow everything is good, particularly in Genesis chapter 2 he comes back and says it's not good for this man to be alone, I'll make for him a suitable helper. It is not Adam initiating it, it's God himself initiating it. So marriage is an institution initiated by God. And if we do not discover God in it, then we are on our own game. And literally I can tell you that several marriages that people are living in their own game. God is not in it. Even when you walk in the pulpit and they certify it, trust me, the day you began it, when God wasn't in it, the pulpit is not going to bring him in that marriage.
Very true.
So please, before you commit yourself to somebody, you need to ask yourself whether God is in this marriage. If I had some time, I will tell you a very simple story. Please. 1999, the Lord spoke to me and told me to marry somebody. But come on guys, some of us were in university by then, had our black books and our qualities of a good wife. And I can tell you, man, I had a book. I had written a book, qualities of how to marry.
What had you written?
Man, you know, I love chocolate skin colors. I love tall ladies. I feel secure when I walk with a heavy loaded woman. I feel very insecure to work with somebody who is. So I had written all my qualities. Getting saved at 21 years of age, I had opportunity to be in youth camps and I knew what it is. And guess what? God comes to me in 1999 and tells me, you are going to marry that lady. Done? I prayed the Pentecostal prayer. If there were demons that morning, I cast the demons out. Instead of going, I was filled with the spirit of joy. I began to laugh alone in that room. And I heard again the next voice, go and tell her you're going to marry her. Now, how is God telling me to go and marry? Contrary with my qualities.
What was it that you didn't like particularly about her?
She was short. She was black. She was a senior to drop out.
Senior to drop out.
She was... She
not even close to your quality.
No way. When I looked at her face, the face looked different. Everything looked totally different.
Yes.
But what am I hearing? God is saying, marry her, that's your wife.
Yes.
I had to spend another 3 years
thinking about it.
Wow.
And literally I can tell you the Lord told 3 years, I have 1 million in my journal of life that I regret because it was a year of repenting. Every time I went on my knees to pray, the Lord told me, go back to her. Go back to her.
God had seen something.
Oh man. But I can say like literally now, I am glad that was the marriage I went and did.
Well, going back a bit to
Yes.
what we were talking about, there is something that is happening in church. Church, the body of Christ, Anglican, Catholic, and Pentecostal.
Yes.
When church leadership, if you are not wedded in church, can you be elected? You have gone for the DC and URSB kind of marriage.
Yes.
Can you be elected in church as a church leader if you're not wedded in church?
The prerequisite for church leadership, when Paul lists it down in First Timothy chapter 3, the prerequisite of it has marriage. In other words, if you can't manage your marriage and your family, then you do not deserve to lead the church of God. So it is important that you be married.
Yes.
And if you can manage that lady, if you can manage that man, then you can manage the church. If you can manage that family, then you can manage the church. When the family fails, when the wife don't, when your wife fails you, then you are morally disqualified to lead the church.
Just to throw my light on a question, for example, Don here has gone and seen Anne, they've gone to URSB, registered their marriage, and they consider themselves married.
Yes.
So in the church circles, for people that identify as Christian, does Don qualify to be a leader in church?
Yes. What is the legal framework of marriage in this country? Because have you realized that some churches would wed people but not submit returns to NIRA?
That's true.
Yes.
And when you go to church, you are not married.
You're not married.
You're not legally married.
Oh.
You understand?
Yes.
So church, by the way, one of the good things of this law is that in Uganda, from the colonial times, we have been doing civil marriage.
All this.
All this law, only civil marriage, no Christian marriage.
Oh.
We didn't have Christian marriage. This is the bill that is introducing Christian marriage. We've been doing things under the civil law, civil marriage. So even the one that is in church ends up being civil by law.
Yes, because that's what's recognized.
That is what is recognized. Now this bill is helping us to recognize what we're calling Christian marriages. So we now have Christian marriage, we have civil marriage, we have I think we have the Islamic marriage, we have the Baha'i marriage has also been also considered. I think we have the Hindu marriage that is being considered in that bill. So now Christian marriage is coming legal.
Wow.
Now if you went and became wedded under the civil law and you got married, that's what we have been doing.
Bishop, let's hear from the audience, as of course I'm quite sure that there are people that have just joined us. Well, thank you for joining us. If you have just in, we are going deeper into one of the core discussions that was raised in the spotlight last week. That is cohabiting couples, considered as though they're legally married. Is that a justifiable take? This is the discussion we're having in-house. And you can use the number that is scrolling on your screen. That is 0746405060. We'll be reading those comments as they come in and your feedback. Or you can tag us on our social media handles. That is Promise TV UG on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and of course Facebook. We'll be reading them. Well, let's dive back into this discussion. And Bishop, allow me ask a question.
Yes.
What is your take if cohabiting couples will be considered as though they are legally married? What will happen to the church?
The challenge we will be heading to is that there will not be need for people to wait. Anytime you create a laguna in the law, a compromise will come. Yes. We are creating a virtue that people will look at and say, after all, you understand? And we're also creating a situation where people are going to go in marriage with the try and error. True. I have tried, let me try. If I error, I have a walk out of this. Literally, it's like we are creating a situation of a contractual marriage.
Bishop, what does the Christian teaching say about marriage, and especially with
our marriage is permanent and pensionable. Yes. I will add the pensionable part of it. our marriage, biblical marriage, Jesus says, whosoever has been joined together, no man should set asunder. Yes. So our marriage is permanent. Now we are creating a scenario, a laguna in the law, where people are going to find it fitting to live their own life. And that is going to be dangerous to church. So to my brothers who are advocating for it, they're advocating, I can understand where they're coming from. In our African context of culture, where people have stayed together, and when a man passes on, the wife has no heritage, has no right to property. That's the world where they're coming from. So they're coming to safeguard that this woman or this man who has been cohabiting to have a right to property, to have a right into that marriage, so that they are safer somewhere.
At the look of things, I feel like the Pentecostal church, or the church generally, has been encouraging cohabiting couples to get legally married.
Yes.
And now when this comes in, it's going to weaken the purpose of the church and why it has been advocating for it.
You are very straight on the point.
Because I feel marriage is a distinction between the boys and the men. Marriage is when we see that commitment that is coming in. But I feel what will happen to the church that has been advocating for cohabiting couples to get married if we compromise that Laguni had talked about?
The church is to me, I think one of the things, you'll excuse me guys, but from our audience, I tender in my apologies before I speak this. I think we are trying to promote our own weaknesses.
Yes.
Where you feel, one guy told me some years ago, he told me, Wanda, with us, we married when we were very poor. Now that we have become corporate, I think it's time for us to change partners.
Oh,
Wow.
I can tell you, this is a bishop who's speaking that.
Wow.
And I looked into his face and I told him, guy, I'm sorry to you. You married when you were poor. With me, I married when I had left university. So I made a right decision. No matter what goes on, I'm in it. So sometimes when I see the proponents of such kind of things, there is a kind of a thing they want to create that safeguards the background where they are.
Is it the scripture that says they will want to create their own teachers who will preach what they want to?
Obviously fitting into the itching of their ears.
Creating a crack for the world to enter into the church, so that the church is governed by the world.
Yes, but to me, as a conservative evangelical, I strongly go by the orthodox of the word. What does the orthodox of the word say? Cohabiting, if you began it the way you began it, it's not a license for you to remain the way you are. Walk down the aisle. Make sure you sanctify that marriage. And make sure you live with that woman. not with that man, not to think. Now, I want to let you know this from the floor of Parliament,
Yes.
as they develop this bill.
Yes.
If you went into the Parliament we have today, many of the guys down there are cohabiting. The gentlemen of them, I don't know how to treat their marriage. There are others who are married for political purposes, but others married to others for purposes of
Economic.
So they're trying to create a law that brings all of them on board.
That brings them in comfort.
Yes, in the comfort zone. But the law, the tenets of the law, you don't create a law to safeguard yourself.
Yes.
You created a law looking at the future, how the future is, and what you want that future to be. If you create the law, we will risk to create a scenario. I promised TV and the rest of you watching me. At one time, we had a law in this country that said somebody above 70 years should not contest to be the president of this country.
Yes.
When the leader by then wasn't 70. Little did he know that he was going to live beyond 70.
There is something you've clearly told us the types of marriages that are legal in Uganda,
Yes.
civil and all. But looking at this bill and even talking about our value system as Ugandans, we have a value system.
Yes.
Which comes straight from our traditions. Don't you think this kind of law will weaken our value system in terms of there is no need for traditional.
I mean, the women and children will also be at
Everyone
stake.
just go.
Now,
What do you think?
there is a place where they've catered, especially on the polygamous marriage.
Okay.
They've catered for that. You're free to marry as many as you can, as long as you meet the requirements of the Polygamous Act, the polygamous clauses.
There's a polygamous
There is a polygamous clause. There's a
in the
polygamous
bill.
clause in the bill. So when you go for an introduction,
Yes.
and after introducing, you get that letter that they give you done. You take it to the cow, you take it to the chief, the town clerk, and he enters it into the book. That is legal. That gives you a window to marry as many as you can. Yeah,
So after me submitting this letter to the cow
Yes.
and the town clerk,
Yes.
then I can go repeat the same process.
You
with
repeat the
another
same
person.
process to another person.
Hey.
You have no problem.
You're legally married.
You are legally married, polygamous.
Wow.
Now, if you don't want to live polygamous, then you walk into. Now, they've also said that civil marriage can be potentially polygamous.
Civil marriage
Yes.
is
Can be
potentially
Polygamous.
So I can be married,
Yes.
but then I can choose another
Another.
woman
Another woman.
and go do a civil marriage.
And do a civil marriage
So
again.
meaning civil marriage doesn't limit how
Yes.
many partners I can have.
Yes.
Yeah.
value system.
Now, literally, in the current law they are amending, civil marriage will limit you to monogamous, a monogamous marriage.
Will limit you to monogamy.
Monogamous marriage. But currently, in this bill, civil marriage is potentially polygamous.
Bishop,
Yes.
which other clauses and aspects in this bill will contradict the values of the church or coming from the orthodox and theological point of view?
I think looking at it, I've looked at the bill from perspective of its framers. And I'm seeing a very big challenge that contradicts the orthodox of the church. What we have to do, and I agree, I resonate with Dr. Selwada's submission, that when the bill is passed, as Christian marriage passed, then there must be regulations drafted to implement the Christian marriage.
Yes.
Because as we talk now, there's a serious laguna into it that gives a lot of unwarranted commitment.
Oh, very true.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So we need to come up with regulations when it is passed. We have scored by having now what we call a Christian marriage.
Yes.
But the implementation of it will require regulations. And those regulations should come in, therefore, to find space of how do we control divorce.
Oh.
To find spaces,
Oh, yes.
yes. Because If it goes the way it is, today as we talk, we may enhance divorce. And yet in the orthodox of our theology, divorce is not a guarantee. It's not
You've gone to divorce, and I was actually coming there.
Yes.
Are there any provisions in the church value system and the orthodox of the church? Is there any instance that can validate divorce?
Now, I come from my own school of thought and my school of theology, which is totally different. And my theology, the orthodox of my theology, does not validate divorce. That even when you go to the scriptures that you want to say, where I hear the proponents try to bring it out in terms of saying the unfaithfulness of the partner. That's where many times we want to validate, and we say because the couple has been found unfaithful, or the spouse has been found unfaithful. That is literally, when one thing is pointing to that one, you have to remember that the rest of the four are pointing back to you. What made her go? Or what made him go? What made that person change? So you have to take responsibility and cross-examine yourself. And ask yourself, and Jesus puts it very funny. I look at the proposals of this and I also want to bring them to another orthodox. When you look at the scenario when the Jews and the Pharisees have picked this woman from an adulterous relationship and are bringing her to Jesus and are saying, how do we deal with this now? And you wonder where they left the man.
The man, yes.
The question is, where was the man at that time? But I would also imagine the man was among the men who were there.
Who wanted to
stone the woman. And Jesus looks at them and says, he writes down, says, if there is any among you who have never done it, be the one to pick the stone
and cast it
to her. And the Bible records that from the elderly, they began to leave one by one. Then by the time Jesus rose his head, the guys had gone and looked at the woman and said, go back, but sin no more. What does that mean? The ability to forgive. That even if you found your spouse unfaithful, the grace of God that is abounding should give you the merit to forgive, not the merit to justify your way. You understand? I imagine one of the interesting scenarios in this city is when one man had the capacity to even take video cameras to record his wife. And I was like, can I do that when Anna she's there? That is not possible. Don't. If I found Nalongo in that situation, I wouldn't even have the capacity to carry a camera. You understand? But sometimes it will say this as it or say this the chigende kati awo tusanga ebintu nutandika okwogerera awo netujustifyinga kubanga kino wakiko onoonye olugi lwofulumiramu. But orthodox of our Christianity, and divorce is not guaranteed.
Wow, I really love and wish this discussion was like close to 3 hours, It's getting deeper, it's getting sweeter with deep reflections and of course insightful teachings and the perspective that also Bishop is bringing on this table. Bishop, what would be your advice to young couples that are watching us and are taking this direction? Because you mentioned about the generation to come and if this is legalized, what advice would you give these young couples? Because the church is trying to help cohabiting couples to make this legally, and now also at some point it's coming out and say let's legalize this. How would you advise them?
My advice would begin from the parents. I have daughters growing, I have sons growing.
Yes.
I have spoken frankly to my sons and daughters.
Yes.
I have told them, my son, my daughter, I don't need anything from you. I wish you the best if you have an endeavor to get married.
Wow.
If there is anything to contribute, I should be the one to send you into your marriage.
Very supportive dad.
So the parents should renew their mind. They should unlearn, relearn, and learn something new. So that they are supporters of their daughters into marriage. And they are supporters of their sons into marriage. I walked in the face of my father-in-law when I was going to marry. I didn't bring my dad, neither my mom. I went there personally.
Yes.
I told my father-in-law, I want to marry your daughter. And he said, you are going to bring ABCD. And I told him that the truth is, as you see me as I am.
This is how I am.
And this is how I am.
Wendy.
Yes, so what you are trying to ask, I do not have it now. But the benefits of our relationship in the future will benefit us as a family. My dad-in-law looked at me and said, how do you dare talk like that?
The audacity.
Yes, where do you get the audacity to talk like that?
Yes.
I said, obviously, it's me who's going to marry her. And she's going to live with me. So, the guarantee to who is going to stay with your daughter, it is me. And that's why I'm speaking this frankly and boldly. Then he asked me, don't you have a father to come and talk to me? I told him that my dad is far. Bringing him to you is going to cost me again to have him here. So you have seen me. Judge me by the way I am.
Yes.
I will be able to. So he went ahead and said, okay, son, would you look for a cow? Okay, bring one cow. I said, that one I'm going to work for it. I will bring it. But that is the far. I would encourage a young man who is going to marry Agnes.
Families that have exorbited this bride price, 30 million, 25, I mean.
Yes. I think the young man, the parents need to come to the understanding. Has my daughter brought this young man to me? Let me listen to my daughter. I will ask her daughter, tell me, how is it?
Father to daughter.
How is it? Are you convinced it's a man to live with? When my daughter says that, it is. Wow. I have no any other question at all to other than to support her to walk into that marriage.
Wow.
And that is my bottom line of this. So instead of complicating it, the traditional world, African traditional world, need to soften to these younger men. Do you know that now as we talk, in the recent census, we have 23% of women vis-a-vis the 22% of men?
Oh my God.
Wow.
In other words, in this population we have 1 million less of men.
A whole million.
The scarcity.
Yes, the scarcity of men, 1 million in the ratio. So what is happening is that if my daughter brings a younger man to me, well, how privileged and blessed I am. Wow.
Oh, Bishop, I just really know that I'm like, we should be having it every Tuesday, you know?
So I should support her.
Yes.
I should bring the young man and sit with him down and say, please tell me who you are. What are you thinking? What are your plans?
Yes.
And when I listen to him as a father, I will discern that perhaps they may begin like this, but are heading to a great future. Because whosoever is doing whatever is doing, remember you are beginning.
True.
All of us began from a humble background.
True, yes.
And we are who we are today by the grace of God.
Hallelujah.
And so let's not judge from where we are to where these guys are beginning from.
Yes.
Let's come down, encourage them, motivate them, soften our ground.
Yes.
What do you need as a father? You are living your evening of days.
Yes.
They're just beginning their life.
Very
Why
true.
should your evening of life become a problem?
The morning.
Bishop, I would love to receive your last shot or your last take regarding this very perspective that we have had, especially ekintu kyogeddeko okubanga abantu basaba bride price mungi ate n'abavubuka abatubame batiddo, that commitment bit. I would like you to really wrap it up for us as we close the show.
Yeah, our audience, the Promise TV, I want to bring this with an authority of it. As an authority, I want to speak this boldly to
Yes.
you. cohabiting is not going to be the legal way of accommodating you.
Yes.
But removing the bottlenecks to what hinders you from committing will be the way to go. As a young man and as a young woman, it is important to remove every hindrance that will become a problem to you committing yourself. Currently, I see young men who are looking for women who have money. On Banonya, you hear them say, "Njagala alina nyumba, aina motoka." This has never been an African culture, where you find men looking for women who are going to feed them. It is a role of a man to provide. The worthy husband has the provision to a family. So I want to bring this to nail it down. As a leader and a church leader, we are going to work on everything possible to make sure that marriage is very easy to every committed couple who want to do it.
Yes.
And in that law, I still insist that we should not create a laguna where we promise people to live 5, 10 years until they do something. We should give them a right to straight away have commitment. The fear of commitment is an indicator that this person is not going to be okay where he has gone. When you commit yourself, up to now we are committed to Jesus.
True.
And you understand, he said, "I'm coming back soon." The soon has been 2,000 years. And we don't know when soon will be soon again. So any commitment can work in any direction.
Yes.
As long as you do it honestly, with integrity to that particular person. As a church, my voice to this is, let's not create a laguna in the law. Let's encourage people who are cohabiting to walk swiftly towards the sanctity of their marriage. Let's commit them to be committed to each other. Let's, as church leaders, live a life of an example. Let's be models to the younger generation. Let them see us walking into our silver jubilees. Let them see us walking into our diamond jubilees. Let them see us walking into the centenarian jubilees, and understand that marriage is permanent and passionable until death does us apart.
Wow, that was a nail in. I don't know, it was just mind-blowing. And Bishop Ivan, it's been great having you. It has really been so great, because I feel minds have been transformed. You have awakened people to see things from a different perspective. Yes, it's acknowledgeable that people have had different opinions which have been dividing, but you have brought this from the root and saying, hey guys, look here, if we do not focus on this is what's going to happen to us in the next coming years. And I feel like we should have you one more time again on the show. Colleagues, don't you think so?
Yeah, we should. Absolutely.
It's really been a wonderful time with you, and we hope to have you one more time. Thank you for being a voice, and we believe that Nalongo Anne is very delighted and very happy to have you. We really thank her for the great job that she's doing. And yes, of course, to our viewers, at the end of the day, we do have, of course, divided opinions, questions that are not answered. But, well, this conversation does not end here. We need to continue streamlining, discussing, and also choosing what is right. Thank you for joining the Sunrise Show on Promise Television every single weekday from 6:45 to 9 a.m. And thank you so much for staying tuned. From us to you now, we say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Till tomorrow.